All right, I'm combing through the Ken Rosenthal and Dan Hayes epitaph here on the Athletic, Patrick and Judd and Declan. And the text hit Thad Levine's phone at 12:20 p.m. on Friday. It was Scott Boras, and the message said, "We need to talk."
Yeah, when the message he delivered, I haven't read the story yet, but I know what happened. The message he delivered was, "How would you like to have Chris Correa for 1 year?"
Yeah.
And they said,
Okay.
"Well, that sounds pretty good."
That sounds great. Yeah.
I mean, it's they obviously worked out it. We worked out a little insurance for Carlos, like he gets a 3-year contract, and let's say he's somebody rear ends him and he loses a leg and never plays again. Then he's got 3 years guaranteed, right?
How about a torn ACL? I love how you went from like
I'm going hard.
He sprains his ankle and misses 50 games. No, he gets hit by a bus.
If he has his foot amputated, he's secure for 3 years. Otherwise, he's opted out after a year. And when you are dealing with Scott Boras, you know what you're dealing with. He always takes guys to free agency. He always asks for an opt-out. And when he gets the opt-out, unless the guy has a terrible year or something, he uses it. And this is a fantastic deal for Correa because he, just in case, and I'm obviously being silly here with what might happen, but just in case, he's got $105 million, right? Isn't that what it is? So anyway, I mean, it's a hell of a deal for both sides, and I don't think there's any huge drama as to that the Twins went out and were pounding on Scott Boras's hotel room door in Florida saying, "How do we get Carlos Correa?" It was Scott Boras. I wrote this basically for Sunday. It was Scott Boras saying, "You want him? You can have him for 1 year. And by the way, you got Royce Lewis, my guy, for the following year because he'll be recovered." So
yeah,
it was a perfect scenario that he created. So good for him.
Potentially the executive of the year in baseball is going to be Scott Boras. Then. If the Twins actually have a great year,
he was the shadow player rep for the negotiations.
He was.
He was. He was not happy though with he wanted the Super 2 thing. He wanted 2-year arbitration, right, for a much larger group of two. And I think he was one of the guys saying still vote no at the end because they didn't really change the Super 2 thing. And they got money. They got some money for those guys that aren't arbitration eligible, but they did not get to change. What is it? The top 22% or something get to turn. He did not like that, I guess. But what's amazing is before the lockout, December 2nd, he got $500 million from the Texas Rangers for Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. Now, Semien, I think, is a great player. Seager's good, but Seager is not a $325 million shortstop, for God's sakes. And but he got $500 million for him, and that's what caused Correa to switch agents. Correa was with the guy now somebody throw this, and I don't know if they got this in there, but somebody threw this at me yesterday. Because the winter started with a different agency, okay, Genske was the from William Morris was the agent. Scott, if he got the 300 and some million, would have had to split his commission with the guy from William Morris.
Now, why is that? Because the offseason had started.
And he would have had to split in some manner the commission. Now, if he gets him $300 million, he ggets the whole commission. So
Boras was Belcher's guy, correct, Pat? Yes. Way back in the day.
Yes, and the Twins. He was a novice agent then. He just stopped playing, and he was Belcher was like his first prominent client, and got into it with the Twins, who had a little different view of we talk about the cheap Polans. That was the year that the Twins had a pretty damn good draft. Tim Belcher, Billy Swift, the pitcher, ended up in Boston, and Oda B. McDowell. First 3 picks. Outfielder who played, 6-7 years in the big leagues, right? Left-handed hitting outfielder.
Texas, I think.
Didn't sign any of them. It wasn't only not signing Belcher. They didn't sign the next 2 guys either. And there was no compensation for failing to sign people back then. You just didn't get them. So that was only a year before Calvin sold, basically. The organization was on life support then, and it was about a year later when we first heard the name Carl Pohlad in conjunction with the Twins. About the next spring that we heard his name for the first time. Did I ever tell you guys the first time I heard the name Carl Pohlad?
Mm-mm.
The Philadelphia Eagles were for sale, and we were still getting our copy by printer or by teletype, by the AP wire, but it was paper, and the Eagles were for sale because the guy was a gambling. Who was the guy?
Leonard Tost.
Leonard Tost was gambling. So it was the late 70s, and the report on, and I think it was Lurie. Did Lurie end up buying Jeff Lurie or somebody end up?
I don't remember if he got him that early on, but
ended up buying him. But they said, and the 2 main people seeking the team are whoever ended up buying it and Carl Pohlad, a Minneapolis businessman. And I remember turning to the desk and saying, "Who the hell is Carl Pohlad? Anybody hear of him?" I didn't read the business section, so I don't know. I'd never heard of the guy.
That was straight sports and comics section. That was Pat.
Yeah, right. Well, the comics. I didn't do the comics. I'd read the editorial page once in a while. I always used to like the letters of the editor from Wackos, but it was. Who's Carl Pohlad? And of course, then he became part of our life not long.
My favorite new cheap Pohlad story is the day after they signed Carlos Correa. Was it Sunday or Monday or whatever it was? And there were some beat writers in the clubhouse, and whatever the music was that was playing, like Pandora or Spotify, had the 60-second commercial breaks that the cheap Pohlads couldn't even spring for the $3 a month package for commercial-free music in the Fort Myers clubhouse. There's another
There's
hook
still
to
some leftover Billy Smith things out there.
Yeah, there are. Yes. So this athletic article, this report from Ken Rosenthal and Dan Hayes says the Twins were in discussions with Trevor Story leading up to this, and they offered a 4-year, $100+ million contract and told Trevor Story that he would play shortstop, which is, I think he's going to play second base with the Red Sox, right?
Only for a year, but right.
But then as that progressed, the Red Sox, the Giants entered, and the deal started to get bloated. Turned out to be a 5 or 6 year deal for 100, whatever it is. So I don't know. Would you guys rather have 4 years of Story or 1 year of Correa?
1 year of Correa.
I think I'm fine with this. I don't know.
I am too.
I don't know. There's something with Story because his market value went down during this off season. So I think a lot of people held last year's bad year against him. Right? He had 203 and outside of Coors Field and stuff. And but I'd take him, and I would have been fine with getting him for 4 too. But you're spending $36 million a year instead of what, 25 or something for Story, right? What did it end up being? It didn't end up being that outrageously high. So I would have been fine either way. But I'm excited to watch this guy in the middle of the lineup that he plays. Just the 2 things. Will he and Buxton be healthy? And if they're healthy, will they be allowed to play? Those are the 2 questions.
Well, they got to get rest, Pat. Come on.
Will they be allowed to get up? Will they be allowed to get off their feet 12 times a year, or will it have to be 40? Like
Buxton sort of bumped into the center field fence yesterday, completely unnecessarily in a spring training game. I don't know if you guys saw. He went back and caught a fly ball on the warning track and jumped up against the wall and hit it fairly hard.
Is he testing himself or what?
I don't know.
How's he I haven't watched any of their spring training games. Is he the muscle? Still looks like the new muscle, the Buxton that we
Yeah.
have.
Can't tell on TV. It looks good. Yeah.
He looks great, but
Yeah.
stop crashing in defenses, please.
Yes.
Or
Oh, I
rest.
tell you, that's a good lineup. Oof. If they're
Yeah, what's your lineup? What is your? I mean, lefty righty, it might be different, but what's your lineup?
Blanco, Arise, Buxton, Correa, Kirilloff, Snow, Kepler. Rooker's my DH, but he hasn't gotten much time, so he's probably not going to be the DH. And the obviously the catcher Jeffers. But did you see there's a report, I think this came from ESPN, I'm not sure who came from, but they're going to let them have 28 players
Till May 1st, right?
till May 1st. So that means you'll have a third catcher at least. And knowing these guys, they'll have 15 pitchers, but they'll have at least 14. But one rule I like is starting May 2nd, I think, you can only have 13 pitchers on the roster.
Correct.
You can have 26 players, but only half of them could be pitchers.
Correct.
Which means, of course, they're going to, how when I'll use the example, I think this is St. Thomas too, but you know how you got the buses that idle outside colleges, like at St. John's and St. Ben's,
Yeah.
they got the bus that keeps. They're going to have one of those over in St. Paul for the pitchers next year. They're just going to have the bus idling outside CHS Field.
It could be sponsored, it'd be great. The Treasure Island.
You'll be taking over there today. Come on, let's go.
Do you know
By
how
Metro
much
Transit.
this team saves by their AAA club being down the road?
Now they aren't home all the time, but they were home at the same time last year.
Yeah.
Well, way more than I thought they were going to be.
Here it
Just
is.
think it
Did the Twins moving AAA affiliates give them
cheap.
enough money to sign Carlos Correa?
No,
There's your story.
it just saves money, cheap poll ads.
Yes, yeah, it does.
That's why they did it.
It is. Boy, I wonder what the real feeling of the Saints was. I got some excited emails from people there that they were going to be the only game in town for, when it looked like they were going to have AAA baseball, but not big league baseball. And under the Judd plan, we wouldn't be playing until June or July. But
That was July 4th this year.
they were going to be the only team in town. But hey, Za'Darius,
Yeah.
Is he more linebacker than end, or is he
Yes.
more end?
He stands up.
Outside linebacker, rush end in the 34,
He's a
Pat.
end. So and
Playing the 34.
I know we are. So is Danielle?
Danielle?
I like calling him Danielle because that's the way he spells his name. But
Thanks, Jacques Lemaire.
but he's
There
an
you
end. He's playing inside.
Well, I mean, but we don't know really what Daniil Hunter.
In the
gonna
3-4,
do.
he is now going to stand up. They're both going to stand up.
He'll stand up too. Huh?
Yeah.
But
Now
they're
What?
outside then? Does that mean they got to cover receivers? Or do they change things around?
we're going to scheme that up, Pat.
I don't want
We're
them
gonna scheme
covering
that.
receivers. I want them
No, they won't cover
going
receivers.
to kill the quarterback. But how many sacks did he have in that game when they opened the season here?
3.5, right?
3.5 sacks, 5 tackles for losses. He was just a monster.
Yes, he was. Yeah, this is a hell of a signing. This changes the perception of they're not doing anything completely, right?
Yeah, I mean they still have a lot of work to do, but this was if you're trying to win big in 2022,
Yes.
this is the type of thing you got to do.
Yes, because the only way, unless you got a really bad quarterback in the other team, the only way to stop passing games now is to make the quarterback miserable, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's, in fact, I say, 8 years ago, maybe we were saying, well, this is ridiculous. Everybody's throwing for 400 yards and it's such an offensive game. And all of a sudden it kind of changed back. And the reason was people figured out rush the passer. And these guys became the most valuable players in the league, really. They got him fairly cheap, didn't you think? I mean, they only paid him.
Well, we don't. It's $14 million a year. I don't think
free.
we've seen the guarantees yet, and I think they're still sort of holding back on the structure of the contract to see what else is out there. But it's ultimately $14 million a year on a 3-year deal, which
He's got to be getting damn near all of that, though. He left Baltimore was what, 35 or something, but that was for an extra year or two, right? That was for 4 years.
Correct.
My guess is it's going to wind up being 2 pretty solid ironclad years of guarantees. You know, call it $25-30 million in guarantees, and then the third year is sort of
Well, if
optional.
the back's good, and there's I'm more confident about his back than Hunter. It's a hell of a deal. It changes the perception completely of what they've done this offseason. That's for sure. Figuring out how to keep Hunter and to get him is pretty good work. And Brzezinski, he figures it out in the cap, doesn't he? Somehow. That's why he stays out there and makes big money, right?
Well, he's going to have his work really cut out for him in a year from now or 2 years.
Yeah,
but yes,
year or two. But the way the money keeps rolling in, the cap will go up another $15 million next year, right?
Yeah.
$20 million. Yeah.
It's projected to go up. Right now, the projection is it's 208 right now, and the projection for next year is 225. So
at least, and it could go higher if they actually gave the players.
It should go higher. That's the thing about it.
They actually gave the players a real accounting of the money.
True.
It would be 280 or something.
This league has to hate the Packers the most, because that's the only team that is basically forced to admit that it is making gobs of cash.
Didn't they clear like $220 million or something in net last year?
Yes, and they have to announce it.
And Ziggy has got a bigger money-making operation than they do. They do. But here's the other thing. You buy the team, right? Mm-hmm. You buy the team for, in Ziggy's case, $600 million, right? Wasn't it 7 million?
It was, yeah.
And it's now worth $3 billion. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you're deducting every year. You borrow the money so you can pay interest on it. Every year you're deducting the interest on what you paid originally. That's coming off your profit. So it's a great scam, man. And it's I've mentioned this before. 4 or 5 years ago, concussions, suicides, this league's in trouble. They just had the greatest year they'll ever have. They're bigger now than they've ever been. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. Kids aren't playing it. You know what's funny? Kids play soccer and won't watch it.
Right. They watch football.
Kids won't play football and they can't get enough to watch it. They all watch it. It's amazing. It's a phenomenon.
This sport will be in trouble when kids and parents stop playing fantasy football. That's when it's in trouble. And they're not going to.
I don't think fantasy's even that big anymore. I think
it's big.
It's
like
big.
DraftKings,
FanDuel. But I don't think it drives it like it used to.
I think kids and their parents, and I think people watch. I think people of all genders, I think people of all ages watch football based on the fact that they have fantasy football.
The genius of it too is it simplifies everything, right?
Well, plus,
exactly.
I think more than anything, another thing is gambling is so much easier than it was. Mm-hmm. I don't have to go over to a bar on Excelsior Boulevard and talk to the guy that's on the payphone in there getting collecting bets to make a couple of bets anymore, right? I mean, I can do anything I want to make bets now. It's and with the blessing of the NFL, which is who's the guy we're mad at because he bet $1,500 we're suspending him for a year?
Yeah,
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley. Yeah. Meanwhile, we have 7 official gambling sponsors for millions, tens of millions.
It's and the sponsors are effective. You got Calvin Ridley's like, he's sitting on the toilet in the morning. He's like, this is great.
He's on leave from the team. He's not playing. He's $1,400 for a weekend. That's why is he so cheap? Why didn't he make some real bets?
By the way, all right, so I've got the Forbes list here. Now this is coming out of the pandemic year. So this is 2021 valuations and net operating incomes coming out of 2020.
Yes.
Which they didn't have any fans in stadiums.
Yeah, they didn't have any fans. Yes.
Right. And the Dallas Cowboys net operating income was $280 million.
Wow. So that's
Now, a lot of teams
that's
did
the
take a
profit.
loss, but
Huh?
a lot of teams did take a
Yeah.
loss because they had no fans in the stadium. But
They found
yes.
a way to take a loss at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the
Well,
Patriots
yeah,
are
I'd like to
140
see-
million.
I'd like to see what last year's numbers are, or last season's numbers are.
And I don't think they're out yet,
Yeah,
but they will be.
It is amazing. I don't quite get how. Well, I don't get how anyone can afford to go to any sports event anymore and pay. I've been out of the paying mode for so
Yeah,
long.
Declan, chime in here.
Pat, as
Dex
of
is in.
an hour ago, I'm officially a Twins season ticket holder.
Really?
Yeah, I just bought a 20-game package.
All right, good for you. What are they down to?
So I'm
doing
lower.
the John Haidt one ticket thing.
Nope, I'm doing 2. I have friends. I have people I like to hang out with. So I do have 2 tickets
Got it.
that I bought. It wasn't that bad. I think it was like 14 for the 20-game package, and I get to see the Dodgers, the Yankees. I get opening weekend. I get a good amount of games.
And you get free beer too, right? Nah, I don't think so.
No, I did. Well, if that was the case, I would have done it years ago. Yeah,
I'll pay
but-
full retail for tickets if you let me drink.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just give me a beer.
All
Just
you
one
can
beer.
drink.
Wow. So, we kind of lost in the shuffle here. The Gopher hockey team's out there playing for its life here in a couple of days, right?
Yeah.
And,
5 o'clock Friday,
Mhm.
Massachusetts.
they're giving everybody 2 days off this year, though. We don't have to have the whine that we had to play the late game on Friday and then we got beat on
Ugh.
Saturday, right? That's
Yes.
the traditional whine, right?
Yes, it happens
Didn't I
every
think
year
the
at the
Gophers used
hockey
that one
tournament.
last year, didn't they?
Yes, it happens every year at the college hockey
But
tournament.
they've changed that now, so
Mhm.
everybody gets 2 days. You got a day off in between the games now, so nobody can complain about that. So, but they got a good shot, but that hockey's become a point flip anyway now. And college hockey, the balance in college hockey is really a big change in the last 20 years.
Yeah. One game, man. One game.
We have more breaking Twins news here.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Breaking Twins news.
Frankie Montez.
Yeah, trade for pitcher.
No, it is a trade.
Boy.
Carlos Royce Lewis traded the number 4 to Carlos Correa for a watch.
You only got a watch? What's the thing with watches?
I
hate watches.
I got a phone.
I read yesterday that Correa didn't care about it. That he didn't care.
Here's my
about it.
Rolex.
Oh, he took number 4.
Okay.
Judd, you pulled a Seinfeld there. What's the deal with watches?
What's the
Watches.
deal? What?
I got a cell
Well, I
phone.
got a phone.
Why-
The
why
phone
do
has
you
the
wanna
time.
watch?
We had a story that Correa didn't care. He was going to take some new number. So, but I guess he did. So
No,
Watch.
of all the things you could ask for, a
Yeah,
watch?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
yeah,
I just
so
don't get
there's
it.
some expensive watches out there. People buy watches now as collector's items, not to wear on their wrist. I wear one. I still wear one half the time when I remember. People look at you like you're weird, man. They look, what's that thing?
Dawn wears one.
I hate them.
Do girls wear them now? Women wear them now?
Well, they've
Dawn
always
wears
worn
one.
Do they? Yes, women are
but
wearing
like, it's a
watches now. It's crazy.
But it's like a men's watch. I don't understand that either. There's a lot I don't get about life, Pat.
Judd.
Well,
Women are wearing watches now. It's
Watches
crazy.
now.
It is, yeah. Well, that's hit the jewelry business hard. And not having to go buy the wife the big expensive watch anymore is a gift, right?
Well, if you get an
mine.
Apple Watch, I got an Apple Watch for my gal for Valentine's Day. That wasn't cheap. That was a whole thing.
Yeah, but that's so you can
don't
talk
buy
to
stuff for
people and
Valentine's
send
Day. Hard.
texts. and
I don't need
stuff.
my text messages coming through on my
Wait,
watch.
wait,
I
wait,
agree.
don't.
I don't like it.
I'm gonna keep wearing a watch. All you youngsters can kiss my fat prat. I'm
I'm 52. I don't wear a watch. I hate watches. Jewelry, I hate it.
I like
The
watches.
ring took a year to get used
I like
to.
watches because all you got to do is go like this, and otherwise you got to reach in your back pocket, and pull out your cell phone, and see what time.
Yeah, and then
But
you could drop. I'm starting to come around on this. You could drop your phone. Like think about how many times you risk dropping your phone on the concrete by checking what time.
Why do
it is,
people
right?
put their phone in their back pocket? I also don't get that.
Where
Good
else
question.
you gonna put it?
Stick it in your
Your
front pocket. jacket coat.
If I'm standing
Pocket?
and I'm like posing a little bit, I'll slide it in the back pocket. I'll
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
because you're trying to be
I'll do that a little
cool.
bit.
I always
Thanks,
have
Fonzie.
I'm a back pocket guy for myself.
Yeah.
I'm a back.
I'm not. I don't agree with that.
And it's very secure back there with the size of what I'm carrying around back there. It fits in there very tightly. It's pretty damn good. It's the only way to go if you're an XXLer. So
well, I'm glad we solved the watch.
I don't think we solved it at all.
all right.
See
All
ya.
right, Pat. We'll see you
Bye.
later.
We love those cute stories though, don't we? Now that they traded a watch for a number.
It is great. I love that. Oh, by the way, they ordered 2 rounds of pizza during the negotiation process.
And Correa said,
that.
4
Lucy.
is yours next year. That's what Correa
right.
said.
Don't
4 is
worry.
all yours, kid.
Don't worry, I won't be here. See
Yeah.
you later, buddy.
See ya.
All right.
That's wrapping with Royce here on Mackie and Judd and the Score North YouTube channel.